here to talk about buying and selling in the first quarter of the year here in the greater Phoenix area. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Bryce.
And we are the Lugos, professional realtors with My Home Group Real Estate serving the greater Phoenix area. And I'm really excited to talk today about the market going into January 2022. So we are coming off, I think we're all sick of the word unprecedented, but we're coming off of a unprecedented year in the market from 2021. And I thought it would be interesting to talk a little bit about what we're expecting in January, February, and March of 2022, and a little bit about what we are preparing for. Now, I would say that about this time last year, we had a sense that things were going to be pretty disparaging going into the spring with the inventory levels that we were seeing. And at the time, when I look back on my notes, there were about 5,500 listings on the market active January 1st, which something that we should all be aware of is the first half of January is the lowest time for inventory on the market in the entire year. So this is the time when things are like, they feel very dire for buyers. But during that time, there were 5,500 homes on the market, which is far, 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 far below any sense of normal. And there were also about 5,500 brokerages in the valley at the time. So if you look at it that way, there were about one listing per firm.
Which based on an average.
If you're playing with numbers and just thinking about it in terms of that. And there were 8 agents for every one listing. And presumably at the time, one agent would have the listing and 7 other agents were placing the offers on it.
Yeah, that's funny.
So looking at it in that perspective, it's not hard to see why people were freaking out this time last year. And I just don't know that we are going to see any different in 2022.
I mean, just probably a slight rise in inventory. But I can't imagine it being far off from that going into the spring. I feel like the spring's gonna be crazy.
Yeah. So, I mean, if we look at some of the factors that really contributed to what we saw this time last year, and I just say this for context and comparison, I think it's helpful to look back to look ahead, if that makes sense. Some of the big factors that we were looking at were, number one, the pandemic, right? People were at the time, there were no large vaccine rollouts. A large amount of the population was not wanting a bunch of unnecessary foot traffic in their homes. It was just a different time, right? There's a lot more unknown. And now, of course, we have a lot more clarity and people have reached different comfort levels, which is why I think we have seen some increase in inventory on the market, which is great comparatively. The other thing that caused this was very historically low interest rates.
Right. And you're seeing those slowly rise, which,
is going to impact that a little bit.
And it'll put buyers out there trying to get things done.
Yes. Yeah, that's true. A more like frenzied buyer, maybe, perhaps. And then the other thing that we saw too was a giant influx of new building permits that had not come into fruition yet. So we knew that there was a lot of planning for new building, but it takes a lot of time to build a house, particularly in the environment with the supply chain issues that we were seeing today. Yeah. So the big question is, how long are we going to continue to dealing with this going into Q1 of 2022? The one big change is the iBuyer activity, which we've been talking about on and off on this channel. I'm beginning to sound like a broken record, I feel like, but they had almost altogether ceased operations in 2020 and slowly began getting back to it. And all that we've been seeing as far as like a lot of the activity that's been coming out is from iBuyers. There's a lot of activity that is actually taking up I would say a somewhat significant share of the market. Last numbers we saw was like 7%.
I was going to say, I don't know what the percentage is that they have, but I feel like it's really high.
Yeah. So that's that. I would say, what price points are most affected by those?
I think sub 400.
I think that
they do have some stuff above that.
I think we'll start to see it stretch because the average price per square foot the last time we monitored it in December was $420,000, right, which was up 27% year over year from 2020, which is crazy.
That was 330,000 then.
Yeah.
But so yeah, for sure, I could see the iBuyers, and they are stretched. You see listings right now where they Open Door might have something in the $500,000-$600,000 range or whatever. OfferPad, same thing, just not as much. So the only thing, you know, about with these iBuyers is they're buying different products. A lot of times they're buying rental properties, I think. Making it just things that are just to be made easier. Landlord might be able to sell a home that way a lot easier. So you're seeing a lot more of I'm seeing a lot more of the 400,000 and below, but for sure they're above that too.
So what we typically see in January, specifically January, early February, historically tends to be the luxury market's time to shine. Now, that is probably not necessarily going to be the case, because 2021 was the year of the luxury buyer. We saw higher activity in luxury price points, which historically have not been very active here in the Phoenix area, but we saw higher activity in luxury price points in 2021 than we ever did or even were able to anticipate. And so I think that is going to sway the trend a little bit away from what we typically see, which is January, highest price points are like, you know, rocking out, whereas we see the lower price points tend to kind of steadily increase through March and April, where we see the highest amounts of activity.
Well, I think something to add when you're talking about price points rising, like they have, you know, from 330 to 420, you know, as a median price, I think is what you were saying earlier. Conventional loan rates, or, you know, those have gone up. And FHA loan rates, an FHA loan is up to 440,000, I think, and
that's significant.
Yeah, I mean, it was, you know, mid threes, you know, it's jumped so high. And then conventional's gone from mid fives to 650 or something like that. I think it's 647. Yeah. So the amount of money that people can borrow to buy a house now has gone
at
up.
Historically low interest rates.
Right. Still,
it's unbelievable.
It's so low. So, and it's been low for a long time. So I just see the spring, you know, I see for buyers and sellers, I see people getting past the holidays, and you know, once you're out of there, it's time to list and time to buy. Take advantage of the rates, because rates are still so low. I mean, as of this recording, and times, you know, will change when this gets released, but you're talking super low, 3.25% rate.
Historically, there's 6.
Yeah, I mean, like, just the thing, you know, we get communication from our lender partners and stuff like that, and they're not seeing rates projected to rise above 4% next year. I mean, now I don't know where it's going to be, but that's still so low.
Yeah.
So it's like, but as they rise, you know, buyers will want to take advantage of the low rates, and with the higher loan limits, they can afford more.
I think what's going to be interesting to see too is last year, 2021 was the beginning, I think, of a giant restructuring in terms of lifestyles in America.
Yeah, a lot of work from home.
There's a lot of work from home. Huge portions of the workforce moved remote. There's the Great Resignation, where people are changing their lifestyles altogether and looking for new places of work, looking for new opportunities, and giving themselves massive pay raises while they're at it. So it's going to be really interesting to see where the modern homeowner, like where the 2022 home buyer is going to put the most emphasis on their home needs. Like, is it going to be more space? Is it going to be that extra bedroom for the third space, right? For the office at home.
Den or whatever. I think that's what I mean, and that's part of 2021 has been that way. But I do think that'll be a big push is comfort at home.
So I think there's a lot to think about and a lot to monitor as we go forward. So we're going to be doing a monthly market update coming out soon, but every month going forward. And then you can always see our musings on the market on our Instagram at Bryce and Stefanie. But I want you to know, if you're thinking about what a home purchase or a home sell might look like for you this year, particularly if you're really kicking it around for the spring, like now is the time that you need to be preparing for that. So I invite you to book a time to chat with us directly. We can hop on a private call. We'll hear about your story, listen to what's important to you, and if it seems like we can help, we'd be more than happy to share our perspective on how to make that journey a success for you in 2022 or beyond.
Until next time, thanks for tuning in. We will see you again.
Bye.
Bye.